Hey everybody, Detective Fun Guy here. We're going back with part 2 of our painting our Bloodthirster. So, in the last video, I painted the black details such as the wings, the hair, talons, or spikes, whatever you want to call them, the horns, and the hooves. So we're going to start on the most main detail, which is going to be the skin. So, for the skin color of the Bloodthirster, it is actually a red color, so we're going to start off with some red. So, we are going to use a base paint because we could use contrast paints, but I'm not going to do that because it would be a real pain to add the white. So what we're going to do is we're going to start painting. So we're going to take our large brush. So let me see if I find the right paint. There we go. We're going to do we're going to basically just do a base coat of base coat of corn red. So what we're going to do, check out the paint like so. So we do need quite a bit of this, so put it on the palette. Thin it down with a little bit of water so it's nice and smooth. Alright, so what we're going to do, so basically we're going to focus on all the red details. So for this, other than the skin, we're also going to focus on the wings later, but for right now we're going to paint the skin with corn red. So what we're going to do, thin it down a little bit, but make sure you go all over the miniature. We will switch to a smaller brush just in a second, but for right now, we're just using the big brush for right now. Alright, let me make sure I get the rest of the leg. Sorry if I have to bend the camera, but that's good. Alright, and we'll be right back. Alright, now we're going to focus on a base of a second all-over layer. So, with the corn red, we already have a base layer, but the Bloodthirster demon is a little bit brighter, so we're going to do an all-over layer with Evil Sun Scarlet. So, check out the paint like so. Basically, what we're all going to do is going to basically just this. Take some Evil Sun Scarlet, thin it down onto the palette like so. We don't need too much water because this one's pretty thin, but we just need to do a little bit. So look for all the red parts of the miniature. So basically all we're going to do is going to do an all-over base layer with Evil Sun Scarlet. So as you can see, it's a nice vibrant red, but it will darken eventually because it's a little more opaque, so that way the corn red will be showing into the recesses. Get the pectoral muscles, the neck. Also right here, we will hit some of the black details by accident, but don't worry, I'll show you how you can fix them after we're done with the all-over base layer. Or after the skin, I should say. Don't forget the leg right here. I'll be right back when it's all layered. And while we're doing the all-over layer, basically what we're going to do is we're also going to paint in the little parts right here. We're not going to paint in the whole parts of the wings, but we're just going to paint them and layer them like right about here where the big knuckles are, and just a little bit halfway above the black. And don't worry if you get on the black, we'll show you how to fix it later. We're just going to stop midway through, and we'll show, and it all should be apparent why in just a moment. Alright, now with the Evil Sun Scarlet, the first layer dried, of course. So we're going to do a second layer. So we're going to take some more paint, just a little more. We're just going to down just a touch. And basically all we're going to do is going to rebase coat over the layers. So what we're going to do, just do it like this. You know, it's very simple. So you may ask, why the corn red base coat? Well, I want the corn red base coat so that way it can darken the Evil Sun Scarlet slightly without overpowering it, because it's a layer paint. Just continue this all over the skin. and especially around the face as well. All right, and that's the second layer done. All right, now with the skin layered all over with the Evil Sun Scarlet, we're now going to shade the miniature. So for this, we're going to do a different shade, but it will not over darken the miniature. So we're going to take 2 contrast paints. We're going to use Gilliman Flesh and Flesh Terror's Red. So what we're going to do, take some Gilliman Flesh and shake it up. And we will need my well palette for this so that we can keep the wash in one area. All right, we're gonna take some Gilliman Flesh and put it in the well like so. And it may seem like a lot, but trust me, we're going to need a lot because this is a rather large miniature. Alright, with the Gilliman Flesh now in there, we are now going to wash off our brush before we add up the other paint to make sure we don't contaminate the paint, because that is a big no-no. So, check out the Flesh Terror's Red, like I said. So, what we're going to do, take a little bit of Flesh Terror's Red, just a smidge, and what we're going to do, put it right here in the well, and put it in the well like so, maybe 3 brush fills. Perfect. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to do this. You can see we mix in the color. We make sure we mix it in thoroughly. Perfect. So what we're going to do, thin this down a little bit. And we're going to take this mix and we're going to put it on our palette table. We're also going to we're just going to dump it out. You may be wondering, why is this happening? Well, it's because we need to thin down the paint a lot, so it's not like overpowering the miniature. It takes quite a bit of water, and you thin it down to the point of a glaze. Let's see. All right, perfect. So with the mix now made, we're basically going to apply this all over the skin. So for the skin, we're going to do, if you look on the skin right here, we're going to start on the hands. Basically, we're going to go all over this with the mix. And as you can see, it's not over brightening that red, but it has a really nice contrast to it. Just do this all over the skin. Wherever you see, muscles, stuff like that. And as you can see, it has a nice vibrant red. But as you can see, you can still see the flesh tone like in the mix, but very, very subtle. And that's exactly what we want. It's amazing. Don't forget the back muscles like so. Turn this around, we're going to do the abs as well. As well as the pectoral muscles, like so. And just make sure that there's no blobs of paint going anywhere. We're also going to apply this onto the face. Just be careful with the face because you don't want to clog up any details on the face, which is where we're going to paint in the other stuff like the eyes and stuff later. Soak up any excess paint in the recesses, just to be sure. That's a nice and even coverage. Alright, and I'll be right back when this is all shaded. Another shading part before I forget. Basically, we're going to take this wash, and remember what I said when we were going to highlight those wings just halfway up? So this is the perfect time why. So watch this. Even though you can't really tell, but we're going to do it like this, so that way when we apply the contrast paint over it, you'll have a slight color difference, which is going to be very awesome. Now you may notice I did do some red on the wings, but don't worry, we will tidy those up in just a minute. Just for right now, just paint all over the red with this mix, including on the insides and outside the wing membrane. and just follow it for the inside of the wings. We rotate to the other side. Alright, and that's the skin shaded. Alright, now with the skin shaded, now we're also going to highlight the skin back up. So for this, we're going to use a dry brush. For this, we're going to use a simple dry brush, first off, with Wild Rider Red. So, check out the paint like so. Let me make sure I grab my dry brush. So let me just make sure, where is it? Ah, here it is. Alright, after I shake up the paint, so, take some Wild Rider Red. Basically, what we're going to do is this. Wipe off most of the paint off the... We're going to wipe some paint on the table first, so that way we can just, get most of it off. This isn't orange, by the way. It's just a very light red that's considered orange, but it's not. So, with that dry brush now applied and ready to go, what we're going to do is this. So for here, if you look at the face of the Bloodthirster, we are going to dry brush that. So watch this. As you can see, it's highlighting the face, but also keeping some of the recessed details nice and dark. So for right here, also highlight on the skin right here, the arm. As you can see, it's picking up the raised details, which is perfect, and that's exactly what we want. But it's also leaving those recesses nice and dark, and also it's not over darkening the shade that we did earlier on the skin. And this is kind of a subtle effect, but that is perfect. That is exactly what we're going for, especially with dry brushing. Pop more paint. Okay, so, and also for the leg right here, just don't forget the back side as well. By back side, I mean just don't forget to dry brush the back. The back, as well as the knuckles on the wings like so. So watch this. So for right here, dry brush with that, and this part right here. Just all over where you see the skin. Just dry brush, and just take your time. Before we finish off the skin, we still need to, or the eyes, we still need to do one more dry brush. So for this, we're going to take a very light dry brush of Troll Slayer Orange. So you may be asking, what's the purpose of the Troll Slayer Orange? Well, it's because even though it is red, you still want something to highlight those very raised details. Just a little bit, but not much. So shake up the Troll Slayer Orange like so. Take a very little of this, just a little bit. There we go, perfect. So what we're going to do, dry brush again. We're going to do like on our brush like so. Just a little more paint. Perfect. All right, so what we're going to do now is this. So if you look at the skin right here, we're going to focus on all these raised edges like so. So for right here on his leg, right here, just flick the brush a little bit, but not much. As you can see, the orange, if we lightly dry brush, it's very subtle, but it's also very abusing. So watch this. You don't want to over brighten this with the orange, because then it will look more orange instead of red. However, if you look at the raised details on Bloodthirsters anyway, they are a little orange, but no. I just want to keep them as red as possible. So just very subtle dry brushing. Just very subtle. And when it comes to the face, just be very careful.
Also on the knuckles of the wings. Same on this side. And also when it comes to the dry brushing, also hit the back as well. So right here, we're also going to do the back of the arms just a little bit, and as well as the back of the actual miniature, and as well as his neck. As you can see, it's a little subtle, but at the same time you can see it, which is perfectly what we want. Now you may notice there's some details that we went over with the red, obviously from earlier, but don't worry, I'm going to show you how you can fix that. Also make sure you definitely dry brush the fingers as well as the knuckles. And for the back part, which is the pectoral muscle upside down, I'm just going to hold it upside down so you guys can see. Just be very, very subtle. Very, very subtle. And also finally the bottom part of the leg. Okay, so with the skin now done, we're now going to try to fix it. So what we're going to do is we obviously went over some of the details which was supposed to be black with some red, but don't worry, as the great Bob Ross said, we don't make mistakes, we just have happy accidents. This is a perfect example. So for this, we're going to refix this. We're going to use a Baden black. So basically what we're going to do is that you may need to re-highlight the black details later, but don't worry, we're just going to fix them for right now. So take your brush. So you don't really need to thin this down much, just with just a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to fix all the black details which we hit with red. So for right here, the wings are a perfect example. So for the wing, like right here, you can see these little spots. We're just going to fix them right now. Repaint them in with some black. And basically, just keep following and just make sure that you fix all the black details. And also, I'm just making sure I also repainted some of the hair because I did miss a couple spots. So, and also for the back for the inside of the wing, which is fairly common, we're going to go right here where this red is, and also minor splotches of white spots from earlier. We're just going to fix that right now. We're also going to repaint some of the hairs that are black, especially on his arm. And as well, you see the spikes on his leg right here. We are going to repaint those, of course. And as well as the talons, which we overpainted, of course, which was not by intention. It's all part of the miniature. It's all part of miniature painting, and the hair right here on his legs as well. And don't worry about the metallic details. We are going to paint over those later anyway. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. And speaking of which, there's also a couple of red on these hairs right here on his arm. You can re-highlight those later. But then, yeah. So a lot of people probably are wondering, why didn't you start off with the red, then go to the black details? Well, I wanted to get the black details done so that way I don't have to paint them later. And besides, I can just fix them later anyway. Also for the horns, which we have right here, you don't have to re-highlight the end part. I just highlight the end part for more depth on the fronts of the horns. Just take your time and just be very, very careful. All right, now with all the black details now tidy, we can now focus on the main details, which is going to be on the face. So what I mean by that is that before we move on to all the metallics on the miniature, we are mostly going to paint his eyes and the teeth. So for the teeth, we're going to start off with the teeth, of course. We are going to do a little mixture. We're going to use Corax white. That's pretty much it. So some Corax white. Again, this paint is rather thick, so I do need to thin it down not quite, but a little bit. Thin it down with some water. One more paint, just so I can balance it out. And by the way, this is not dirty water. I made sure to clean it. So what we're going to do is very simple. So make sure your brush is sort of at a fine point for this. What we're going to do is this. So if you look at the teeth, it's kind of a little subtle, but watch this. We're just going to dot them in very carefully. And I'm using a larger brush so that way I can cover all the teeth in one go. So just be very, very subtle. Just very, very subtle. Or steady, I should say. And we're also going to dot in the eyes. But for this, we're going to switch to a smaller brush. So for a smaller brush, we're going to use our very, very, very fine brush, which would be this one right here. And while we're base coating with the white, since we might as well do it while we have it out, we're going to take the white, be very, very careful, and just watch this. So we're going to dot in the eyes. So if you look right here, just very carefully, dot in the eyes. And if you get some white around the edges, that's completely fine. That could be good. That could be a good glow effect. All right, and that's the wings and teeth base coated. All right, now with the teeth and eyes now base coated, we're now going to shade in the teeth. For this, we're going to use a contrast paint. We are going to use snakebite leather. So we are going to thin this down a little heavily. Reason being is because this is not really a bone color for teeth, but we are going to thin it down close enough to where it looks like bone color. So what we're going to do, you can also repeat this like for the skulls, but then again, the skulls and the metallics are mostly an accessory. And we're going to paint them in the last video, or last part. Shake up the paint like so. So what we're going to do, snakebite leather is rather of a darker, like a ochre tone. So we are going to have to thin this down quite a bit. So take some snakebite leather onto your brush, just a little bit. We don't need much because the teeth is a small detail. So what we're going to do, thin this down quite a bit, not to the point of a glaze, but just enough to where it looks like teeth. So what we're going to do is this. So for right here, we have a nice little fine point, not much, but there we go. We're also going to paint in the teeth right here. Wipe off the excess. You could leave the teeth as it is because it will have enough contrast. You can highlight them later, but we're going to leave the teeth like this. All right, so you may be wondering, why did we splotch the eyes? But that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted because we're going to do an eye glow effect. So for this, we're going to start off with Cassandora Yellow. Cassandora Yellow is a shade or wash. So we don't need to worry about much. We just want to base coat we just want to highlight the outer edges first. Or color them, I should say. Shake up the washes. So what we're going to do, take some Cassandora Yellow. We're going to put this on our table just a little bit. Not much. We are going to thin this down a little bit, but not too much because we still want that yellow effect that we're looking for. Perfect. So what we're going to do, make sure there's not much excess. And what we're going to do, see right here, dot in the eyes like so, and like so. See, as you can see, the wash is settling, so we do need to keep it moving. However, this is a really nice sort of technique for glowing eyes. Okay, and that's the shade done. All right, now we're waiting for the eyes to dry. We're now going to highlight the teeth. So for the teeth, we're going to take our snakebite leather and we're basically going to add a little bit of white to it. We're going to go back to Korax white and just mix in a little bit. Get some paint. Not too much, but just a little bit, just so we can highlight the teeth. So what we're going to do. So what we're going to do right here, we're going to look very closely at the teeth. So what we're going to do is going to just highlight every little tooth. And as you can see, the effect is very simple, yet very effective. All right, and that's the teeth done. All right, now with the eyes now done, we're not going to paint the little eyeball itself. So what we're going to do, we're going to use Uriel Yellow. So take some Uriel Yellow, just take it out of the paint, out of the pot, just a little bit, not much. We do need to thin this down slightly, but not much. So what we're going to do, if you look right here, there's the actual eyeball. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but watch this. We're just going to dot them in, just dot. Just a dot, just a dot. All right, and that's the actual eyeballs painted. All right, now we're going to focus on the pupils. For this, this is kind of an optional detail. What we're going to do is take some Abaddon black, and it's going to just take some on our palette. Not much, just a very, very little. So this is quite difficult, so I'll just show you how to do it. So for right here, find the eyeball, and just right here, keep your hand as steady as you can, and just dot in the eye, like so. You see right here. All right, and that's the eyes done. All right, so with the eyes and teeth now done, we now finish part 2 of this Bloodthirster tutorial. So if you may notice, we started base coating the skin, layering, shading, highlighting, and then we focused on the other organic details such as the teeth and the eyes, but also earlier we also fixed up the black details which we might have hit with red by accident. So again, we also did some fixing, and we also did some extra highlights. So I really hope you enjoyed part 2 of this tutorial. I'll be sure to upload part 3 soon, and I really hope you enjoyed watching this paint tutorial. Happy painting. Bye bye.